February 24, 2025, marked a sorrowful milestone in the history of world music when Roberta Flack, one of the legendary voices, passed away. Her death was not merely the loss of an artist. It was an event that made millions of music lovers around the globe pause, halting their fast-paced daily lives to honor an idol. As a new day began, warm sunlight streamed through the window of Roberta's apartment in Washington, D.C. The outside scenery was bathed in shimmering shades of gold, with sunlight mingling with the dewdrops in the gentle breeze. The aroma of coffee wafted from the coffee maker, blending with the sound of birds singing outside, creating a fresh and peaceful atmosphere. But inside, her spirit was enveloped by complex emotions. Although she appeared healthy on the outside, a dull ache in her chest had lingered throughout the night, preventing her from getting a wink of sleep. Roberta Flack, the woman who had touched countless hearts with her emotive singing, was now facing a challenge that she could not control. Her family began to worry as they noticed that she was not quite herself anymore. They realized she took longer to recover between back-to-back performances, and her once nimble steps during rehearsals had lost their agility. They tried to talk to her about not needing to worry or chase after things she had pursued for so long. However, Roberta remained determined, full of fervor and passion. In moments like that, she reminded herself, "I cannot be weak," as music had become her identity, an inseparable part of her life. Every time she closed her eyes, she envisioned her loved ones standing beside her, assuring her that they would never abandon her. She reminisced about her early days when she started her music career, stumbling through the flashing lights of bars in New York City. During those years, she often thought she would never be successful. Those nights when no one listened to her music felt like waves gently lapping against the shore. Yet, she proved herself, delivering hits that transformed her into one of the most renowned figures in the industry. Roberta felt trapped in a relentless cycle. The more she tried to push through the pain, the heavier it seemed to grow. She attempted to focus on music, but it no longer brought her the comfort it once did. Each song, each melody from the piano or guitar, felt like a stark reminder of the passage of time, evoking sweet yet painful memories throughout her career. As the afternoon wore on, with sunlight fading, an invisible sadness lingered in the apartment where Roberta had once found solace. She gazed out the window, watching the young green leaves swaying in the wind as if they wanted to converse with her. She wondered how many of those people were reflecting on the melodies she had gifted to the world. The image of herself standing on stage, feeling the brilliant lights and the incessant applause, flickered through her mind. The gnawing pain in her chest grew stronger, yet deep down, she clung to a fragile hope. It felt like a flickering light in the dark. Its glow might fade, but she resolutely refused to give up. Roberta's family had started to sense that something was off with her health. They were troubled not only by the fact that the pains had become part of her daily existence but also by the emptiness in her eyes whenever they spoke. Those once bright eyes now bore the weight of worry and fatigue. They also noticed she was always exhausted and had lost her appetite. Meals turned into endless battles as Roberta pondered memories and upcoming performances, neglecting her own well-being. She truly felt the pressure of maintaining her name in the music world to which she had dedicated herself. Dreams of becoming a part of music history surged within her, leaving her unable to eat. Each meal passed in silence, punctuated only by the whispers of family members, who were unsure how to empower her. They urged her to rest more and focus on her health. However, Roberta was unwilling to listen. She felt she had already arrived at her destination, and there was no need to concern herself with trivial things anymore. Then, on the morning of February 24th, the clock on the wall ticked ceaselessly, seemingly counting down each second until a risky decision had to be made. Roberta's family could no longer remain silent. Their hearts thudded in their chests. each beat a reminder of just how precarious her health had become. They recognized the signs of her declining health and could wait no longer. Together, they decided to call for an ambulance. When the ambulance arrived, Roberta was lifted onto a stretcher, feeling as though a dream was slipping away. Her eyes briefly flickered with panic before settling back into a state of calm. At that moment, her family's anxious gazes sparked an odd sense of dread, as if they were fleeing a monster without knowing its form. They exchanged words, but no language could encompass the fear that this might be the last time they stood together like this. The ambulance raced through the heavy traffic. Roberta watched as people lived their daily lives, oblivious to her predicament. She saw skyscrapers and flashing lights from billboards echoing images of her once dazzling performances. Each speeding light felt like a precious memory, yet now it felt as if everything was slipping beyond her grasp. She knew she would never return to music as she had known it. When the ambulance stopped at the hospital, Roberta was wheeled into an emergency room. Doctors and nurses quickly tended to her, but her mind drifted back to some point in the past. She felt as if all her dreams, sounds, and images from the years flowed through her mind. Each song, from Killing Me Softly to The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, resonated within her like a vivid canvas reviving intense emotions. Meanwhile, Roberta's family sat anxiously in the waiting area. Each passing moment felt like a century. They prayed for her peace and health, aware that her life hinged on the decisions of doctors and nurses. But now, Roberta's breathing among the cacophony of machines signaled something that everyone feared. None dared to think of the worst, but deep down, anxiety began to creep in. Their hearts hung in the balance of unasked questions. Will she pull through? Does she have the strength to come back to music? These thoughts crashed like waves against the shores of memory and hope. But then, in that tense atmosphere, a gentle yet clear sound broke through. Roberta lay there in silence, waiting for a call from fate. As Roberta lay in her hospital bed in the intensive care unit, she acutely sensed every sound around her, from the feeble beeps of the heart monitor to the voices of doctors and nurses on duty. Everything felt vivid and quite tangible, but an odd sense of detachment made her feel like she was standing on the edge of life. Beads of sweat trickled down her forehead. The heaviness in her chest pressed down like an unremovable burden. Though she had lived fully for music, now it seemed more distant than ever. Roberta's mind whirled with memories. She found herself at birthday parties in the 60s, where dazzling lights illuminated scenes of joy. Performing at grand concerts with millions of eyes watching, each melody resonating in the hearts of the audience. Just weeks prior, she had stood on stage singing the songs that so many cherished, and now she found herself here, in the hospital, awaiting an uncertain future. After agonizing hours of waiting, the doctor finally approached to inform the family about Roberta's condition. They stood outside the waiting room, their anxious gazes and unspoken fears palpable. Each family member felt a strong bond with Roberta, but they also understood that this was a crucial moment. A tall doctor with thick glasses, who seemed to know how to speak with a tone of comfort, stepped in, and his gaze revealed what everyone had been dreading. "We have conducted several tests, and the situation is quite complex," he began, his calm voice laced with seriousness. "Roberta is facing a serious cardiovascular issue. She needs to undergo an emergency treatment procedure immediately to manage the situation. We need the family's consent." In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Roberta's family exchanged glances, a heavy silence hanging in the air. Unvoiced yet intense emotions began to rise. One of Roberta's sisters spoke up, "We understand, and we consent. But what if she doesn't make it?" That question pierced everyone's hearts like a knife, yet they knew that there was no other choice. The moments that followed felt like a nightmare. They quickly prepared for the procedure as if time was stretched into eternity. The work of the nurses and doctors unfolded like a harmonious dance, yet the anxiety could not be shaken off. Roberta remained unconscious, unaware that her loved ones were suffering outside the doors, waiting in anguish and fear. As the procedure began, Roberta felt enveloped by a wave of tranquility. Her mind seemed to drift into a dreamy state. Vivid images of her successful life, the love she had for music, and her cherished ones unfolded like a film, replaying scenes from her beautiful past. She sensed an extraordinary peace, as if all her pain, worry, and regret were disappearing, leaving only a sensation of being loved and embraced. It was truly a battle between life and death, yet she could not recall what was unfolding. Then, in a fleeting moment of hope, Roberta realized that music always existed within her, flowing from her heart outward. No matter what happened, all those melodies would remain inside her for as long as she drew breath. After what seemed like an eternity of waiting, the procedure finally concluded. The members of Roberta's family felt restless, their emotions swelled with anticipation. Like a storm that had rolled in, every feeling intertwined, distinct between joy and worry. As the doctor walked out, the severity etched on his face caused their hearts to race. Roberta's heart has been successfully treated, he stated, his tone gradually softening. She will require some time to recover. We cannot say for certain that all is well, but this is a positive step forward. The family released a collective breath they hadn't realized they had been holding, yet the weight of what lay ahead kept them cautious. They faced a reality that Roberta would need time and care to heal. Although relief washed over them, the shadow of worry lingered in every glance and every reassuring clasp. The following day, soft dawn light spilled through the hospital window. Roberta opened her eyes, the surroundings still hazy. She took notice of the wounds and machinery around her, yet the atmosphere was filled with love. Her family stood by, their faces relieved and striving to maintain a positive spirit. Though the world outside seemed to continue as usual, this moment felt like a warm embrace, shielding her from all dangers. Roberta's gaze fell upon her mother, who had raced from afar to be by her side. Her mother cried, but they were tears of joy for seeing her safe. Roberta gently reached out, struggling yet yearning to touch her mother's hand. "Am I okay?" her mother asked, her voice quivering with concern. Roberta smiled, despite feeling as if her physical strength had utterly vanished. "It'll be fine, Mom. I'm not ready to leave music. I still have so much to say." The days that followed turned into a journey of determined recovery. Although she could not immediately return to life as before, Roberta felt her vitality gradually awakening. Each morning, her family visited, filling the atmosphere with laughter and warmth. They shared joyful stories about relatives, happy memories, and new happenings from the outside world. She once thought she could never repay life for what it had bestowed upon her. But now, she felt more resolute than ever. Roberta was deeply devoted to music, to the soulful pieces she had lived and breathed throughout her life. She recalled every melody, every lyric, and all the fans who had followed her through the years. One evening, as the sun began to set, wrapping the atmosphere in romantic shades of orange and yellow, Roberta decided she needed to express her feelings. Looking out the hospital room window, she reflected on the songs that had once reverberated in her heart and turned to a nurse caring for her. "Do you know? One day, I want to stand on stage again to sing and share with everyone what I have gone through." The nurse smiled warmly. "I absolutely believe you will. Sometimes, challenges are the way we grow stronger." Those simple words of encouragement ignited Roberta's spirit. She knew her recovery journey had only just begun, but her dreams became more vibrant than ever. Thus, within the enclosed space of the hospital, surrounded by breathing tubes, IV drips, and the hum of machines, Roberta decided that music would remain an indispensable part of her life. She continued to listen to the call of melodies within her heart, vowing never to abandon the positive philosophy that music had brought her. Recovery was not just about the body, it was about the rebirth of an artist's soul, always yearning to shine. The days spent in the hospital began to unveil a new chapter in Roberta's life. She had undergone surgery without complications, yet the road to recovery proved to be filled with obstacles and challenges. Doctors advised her to adopt a suitable diet and exercise plan, along with fostering an optimistic spirit to regain her health. Looking in the mirror, Roberta could not deny that she had changed, not just physically but mentally as well. She resolved not to let hardships deter her will. Each morning, Roberta engaged in light exercises, from deep breathing to simple leg lifts. However, what surprised her the most was not the exercises but the patience and effort she had showcased. Whenever she felt tired and tempted to give up, the image of the stage where she once shone with beautiful songs flickered in her mind, reminding her of her unfinished dream. To maintain her spirit, Roberta began to write in a journal. The first lines captured the emotions of someone recently weathering a storm, but it quickly transformed into a melody she nurtured daily. She wrote about conversations with family and close friends who visited. She chronicled the backdrop of every place music had led her, and the overflowing emotions each time she stood on stage. Realizing that it was those life melodies that fortified her, Roberta felt her soul beginning to be reborn. One afternoon, as she was writing, a gentle breeze drifted in through the window. The fragrance of night-blooming jasmine from the hospital garden enveloped her in a sense of calm. Inspiration surged within her, and Roberta decided to start composing again. Though not as perfect as before, she believed that lyrics derived from real experiences could ignite a new flame within her. As she placed pen to paper, emotions flooded forth. She wrote about fear, about weakness, but equally about newfound strength. "Music is my identity," she penned. "It is not merely a melody that resonates, but a support for my soul during the hardest times." These thoughts rang out like a chorus within her, affirming that she would return, not only for herself but for her beloved ones who had always witnessed her journey. Every time family members visited, Roberta would perform one of the songs she had written. They never imagined that the coming time would be a challenge with new songs, and they were equally unaware that Roberta could create so adeptly, even during difficult phases. Her voice, though somewhat hoarse and not as clear as it once was, still overflowed with passion and zeal. Additionally, doctors encouraged Roberta to participate in music therapy sessions. These sessions not only aided her physical recovery but also connected her with the community, allowing her to share and hear the stories of others who were also facing various challenges. Those gatherings made her feel less alone. In those moments, Roberta recognized that music possessed the power to unite people, regardless of where they came from or what they had endured. Roberta's closest friend, Claudia, frequently visited and joined her music therapy sessions. Claudia was a musician who had pursued a music career and had performed alongside Roberta for many years. Together, they sang songs, sharing both joy and sorrow. Their friendship deepened as they explored new aspects of music and life together. "Music used to mean everything to me," Roberta confessed to Claudia one night during a singing session. "But now, I realize that it's not just the music that matters, but also the people around me." Claudia reached out to hold her friend's hand, and they both laughed softly, feeling the strength of friendship and faith in recovery. As June arrived, the summer atmosphere filled the city. Radiant golden sunlight spread everywhere, but for Roberta, this moment signified not just the fulfillment of summer but an important milestone in her recovery journey. After weeks of practice, music therapy participation, and writing new songs, Roberta was ready for her return to the stage. Family and friends enthusiastically supported her in affirming that Roberta had truly risen again. They organized a small concert in a familiar venue where she had once performed beloved classic songs. There was nothing more wonderful than standing on stage once more, singing the melodies she had written and carried within her soul for so long. This concert was not just a performance, it was a journey for Roberta to reaffirm her place in the music world. She hoped it would help heal her deepest wounds by sharing her untold stories. Although she still harbored anxiety and excitement in her heart, Roberta resolved not to let fear hinder her dreams. As the day of the performance approached, the preparations began in earnest. Friends, family, and support team members bustled around, checking sound equipment, lighting, and decorating the performance space. Roberta felt her excitement climbing, intermingled with the cheerful laughter and chatter of those around her. When the concert began, the atmosphere was more exhilarating than ever. Friends and fans flocked to fill the space. Before them stood Roberta, an artist they had loved for years. She could feel their support as a source of energy, bolstering her strength. And then, once more, Roberta Flack stood there, not merely as an artist but as a symbol of resilience, determination, and an indomitable spirit. This return not only marked a recovery but also a promising new beginning. Roberta understood that music would always light her path in every journey ahead, not just in her personal life but in everything life was yet to offer. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to motivate me to create even better videos. See you in the next